Stigma wears a gaudy sea-sucker scarf, decorates her negative neon shadow with a rubbery burst of loud lilac feathers, begs to be seated on the front row with discrimination. Listen, you can hear the ism wind chimes, stereotypes boldly jangling like a runaway windshield wiper. Screaming and screeching, you and your HIV are not welcome here, but her closet is a puddle pageantry of squealing skeletons. Sit at our table. Yes, you are here, so welcome. I stand on the shoulders of dandelions across race, gender, disability, sexual orientation, economic status, and poverty lines. I draw no lines in the sand. Harmony is the demand. No perfect people are allowed inside the humble heart of these walls. You are welcome here.
My name is Reverend Gregory Manning. I'm the pastor of Broadmoor Community Church, where our motto and tagline is where no perfect people are allowed. I believe that serving people living with HIV is right in line with what Jesus Christ would have us do. I think pastors need to stop being afraid to even say the word HIV. Stigma has become so entrenched in our community that people, especially pastors, are even afraid just to mention the term. What I'd say to faith leaders and to other people of faith in general is get educated so you can convey the right information. Get educated so that you are knowledgeable yourself and so that you are no longer living in fear. You know, I truly believe that love is a verb, that we can't just say that we love others. We have to outwardly demonstrate it on a daily basis.
Miss me with the misinformation. There's hope after a diagnosis. We have all made immoral judgment calls. When our backs were against the holy wall, I am setting myself on fire, advocating, protesting, and amplifying the vocal cords of woman. Black women must make of our voice box a trumpet, a crescendo of open, honest doors, be a paddle boat of sunshine and pouring rain. Disclosure and truths can build condos of hope, dispelling internalized mythical myths. And we can't ease the pain with the number of positive possibilities are increasing. For our children and grandchildren, unfold the stories, pass the torch and the mic, prep and prop them up. We must leave an HIV negative world.
I had a rash on my eyes. It was both of my eyes had rash. I looked like a raccoon. And I went to the doctor, and I would love to see him today. And he was like, took blood, and they did everything they had to do. And he said, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel great." He said, "Do you know you're HIV positive?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And he said, "Do you know your CD4 count is a 7? And I was like, "What is that?" And then he went to explaining everything to me. And I was hospitalized. And that's when my kids came. And I had to disclose to them. I tell my grandkids I like to disclose it to them so they know not to have unprotected sex, because they're in their teens and stuff now, you see. They was like, "Well, Grandma, how did you get that?" And I said, unprotected sex. I have to be honest with them. You know, it's important because it's reality. Just like I just said, it happens every day. And they have to know the difference. They have to know If you're gonna do this, you have to take care of yourself and protect yourself. From what the doctor told me, I was walking dead. So now been undetectable for years, you know. I'm grateful. There's hope after the diagnosis. It's not a death sentence.
HIV criminalization is a happy hypocrite, good at throwing cold stones, hiding inside the ignorance of a shattering glass house. Unfounded beliefs floods the outdated system. Its broken levees are questionable. Its squeaking squeal of fermented fear with the quiet of political chambers. Legislated laws feed into the belly of the criminal injustice laws. A segregated sting, door slammed, a cell block of segregation. It's not progression. But our harmonic voices can karate kick policies, steer the tide towards a greater tomorrow. HIV laws don't protect. Hate isn't the antidote. So there will be no apologies here. I stand with you, not against you.
Sharing your status is something that newly diagnosed are not automatically given the skills to know how to do. I was no exception, and so I was involved in a relationship, and it turned out that I was being accused of not disclosing my status to them, even though we did engage in sexual activity. I was approached by a sex crime detective at my job, wanting to talk. The only question they ever asked me was, did I know the individual? Of course, I couldn't talk to them at the time because I was busy at work. And they did an investigation which lasted over a couple of months. They searched my home, looking for anything related to HIV. And the next thing I know, a couple of months later, that I was eventually arrested at work on my job in front of my coworkers. And so that was probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. It was probably one of the most scariest moments of my life as well, because dealing with the criminal legal system as a Black gay man in the South, you know, I know what that feels like, simply because of just how we're treated, our community is treated. And I think with all that I know now as it relates to stigma and these laws, I probably would have done it differently, but I feel like I did the best that I could at that time. This is the greatest manifestation of stigma, is to have it enshrined in the criminal law. Knowledge will empower you. It will help you, it will build the defense. So when someone says that you're trying to harm them, you know, in fact, that you're not trying to harm them, because you are a person who, yes, you know your status. It shouldn't be illegal or against the law to know your status. However, that can be used against you, just the fact of knowing. You're in care. And so if you are able to achieve an undetectable viral load or detectability, you can't transmit the virus to anyone. So there really isn't much to be afraid of when you are aware, when you are knowledgeable. And not just for you as a person living with HIV, but also for those that are negative. If they learn and become more knowledgeable too, then we all can coexist together and not be in fear of one another.
African Americans are disproportionately affected by STIs and HIV. So how do we sound the alarming statistics? One test at a time. Doctors pressing themselves into a quilt, breaking the code of silence, sharing the knowledge. I asked my grandfather, how does a caterpillar move from the cocoon to the butterfly? It grows. How does a turtle cross the road? Slowly and deliberately. There are risks, but we have to risk it all, bounce the beat, grind the ignorance out of our bones, progress and protect, leave shame and guilt on the curb, kick late diagnosis to the dumpster, open the rainbow curtains, welcome. Statistics are stacked against us, so we can't be against us. HIV isn't a death sentence. It's a mirror. Can be hope, doubt, or drought.
I went to Howard University, which is actually a historically black university. I was seeing a lot of our students that were on campus actually acquiring STIs. But not only that, I noticed that minority groups, in particular African Americans, were actually being affected or disproportionately affected by STIs and HIV. That drove me and made me very passionate about reaching out to those particular communities through the field of infectious diseases. You know, stigma is a large barrier to HIV prevention, such as PrEP, but also people being tested, as well as treatment, as well as staying in care. HIV stigma in general has been very prevalent in the African American community. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times in the African American community, and even as an African American physician, many times we hear that HIV is just isolated to one group of people. We cannot put the message out enough about education on what stigma is and how to dispel these myths. One of the things that we do is we educate our patients, we educate our community, but even more than educating our patients in our community is educating our healthcare staff. There are various treatments that are out there now, but they're very simplified regimens. They're single tablet regimens that a patient can take daily. With the injectable medications, patients are able to get an injection every 2 months, and they're able to be effectively treated and eventually will be able to attain an undetectable viral load. You know, they said that an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. Well, this is one particular disease that we can actually prevent, and that's why I'm very, very passionate about it.
Shadowy hearts boomerang, yet we quiver, anchoring our light in renouncing fear. So if you're looking for bite and bark, under the dark of night, positive and negative infused together. Lovers, ride the streetcar, a storyline of tales sublime, holding and molding their hands at their favorite coffee shop. Mosaic, a beautiful ocean of fluttering butterflies. Summer hearts exposed, stigma breakers. We give ourselves permission to unravel shame. Disconnect our tube of fear from the sockets. You equals you is the bubblegum love barrel of love resounding. And with it, we create a galaxy. Centipedes, bouncing and crawling towards zero new transmission.
When I was first thinking about disclosing my status, I was afraid that you might not want to be in a relationship with somebody who is HIV positive. How did you feel when I told you I was living with HIV?
To be honest, at first, it was really scary. I was very ignorant about what HIV was and how it was passed. So I had a lot of fear, but then honestly, it really made me realize how much I loved you.
When people learn that we're a couple and I'm HIV positive and you're not, they actually get really excited because they realize that treatment works. Since I am virally suppressed, I cannot transmit the virus to you. So undetectable, meaning that my virus is suppressed, is untransmittable, meaning that I can't really pass it to you. And we're a really great example of that.
I think PrEP is an important tool. In our case, since we only make love to each other and not other folks, then in our case, U equals U is the principle we need to live by, and PrEP is not necessary. But for other couples who follow other sexual practices, PrEP can be an important tool to keep the couple safe.
I know friends of mine who are in open relationships and they use PrEP, and I think that's a great tool.
To be honest, you tell me your status was one of the most romantic things you ever did.
Oh.
It really meant a lot to me that you trust me with that information and that you were willing to let me into your world in that meaningful way.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
So how long have you been in the field?
For around 5 years.
Yeah. How do you like it so far?
I actually love what I do. I started at the front desk, and being one of the first people that a person gets to see when you come through the door also reminded you of how much power you have to make or break a person's experience. If someone walks through the door, good morning, Jess. Can I get your insurance and ID? well, you know my name already? Yeah, I know I gotta ask you anyway.
You know I gotta ask you. You gotta meet people where they are, and you have to match that terminology.
Yeah.
It's important. For instance, like a 65-year-old woman comes in and you know, she was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna take this test. I know I'm okay, or and stuff like that, because I don't give fellatio. I'm gonna say that, right? And then that's
what she said.
Yeah, I mean, I don't suck dick.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, well, ma'am, that's not the, you know, that's not the end all be all, or that's not the, you know, that's not just the way that this works. So I just make sure that I sit her down and I let her know, but I meet her where she is.
What other myths have you heard? I think the giving head, like you said,
Um,
and HIV is AIDS and you're just gonna die.
Or I've heard some young people talk about having anal sex to avoid certain things like STIs, like having alternate sexual experiences in order to avoid, you know, any kind of getting exposed to any kind of infections or anything like that. So, but no, you can get it in the booty hole too.
Absolutely. And in the throat.
I believe I'm saying this stuff. This is how I talk to We were in a private room. This will be okay. I mean, hey, y'all want to smash Stigma? This is how we do it.
We have to go ahead and get down to the nitty gritty.
That's where I think we dropped the ball, you know, at when it came to those advertisements back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, those scare tactics really did not help at all. That fear them AIDS commercials put in my heart, and I mean, it's just perpetuates ignorance, you know, because it makes people shy away from, or it pushes people away from what they really need to know.
It definitely promoted the stigma specifically, I'm gonna say, for me. So this is part of the reason why I became even more intrigued with sex and sexual health. They don't play those commercials anymore. I think they see what they were doing to the community.
You got to go on YouTube to see that, and I look at that. That's pathetic.
Oh,
look,
wow.
I can't believe we actually bought that.
See? And we did.
And I'm so glad that we're doing Bounce to Zero, because it's a more positive platform, and it's a positive platform about education.
Bounce to Zero is changing the game.
Let's start the conversation. Make a declaration to rally against the sawdust of misinformation. Normalize that it's not normal to will our voices to be silent. Crush the labels and negative attitudes. Don't take this for a history lesson. Unknowns and untruths delays the arc of progression. Transmission truths cannot be hidden or missing. You cannot acquire HIV from a mosquito bite or kissing in moments of weariness, fear, and slumber. We cannot rest, cannot go backwards. HIV testing encourage and increase the numbers. HIV treatment with soft hands of love. Encourage our family and friends to stay in care. So I dare you to be a shark or a rainbow. I dare you to pick up a hammer and nail. I dare you to be a solution builder. I dare you to take a stand, be an advocate, an educator, a lover, a counselor, a friend, a survivor. Take the sky with us. Sometimes the prevention ride gets bumpy, but please take my hand in this HIV fight.